What's up, everybody, and welcome to the Early Edge. A very happy Thursday. Hopefully your Scottish Open bets are tracking well. Got some ISCO going on, got some baseball to talk about. It will be a full show. Thanks for being in the chat, Brandon Silva, Alex, Civil One, Jason Pogwist, Philip, Chad. Hit the like button if you could. You're not going to like this. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we bring in the stars of the show. Well, coming off 2 winning days in a row, but we give pretty much all of it back right here. 2-5 is not going to get it done. Got to do better, and we're going to do better today with those very same stars of the show. Let's bring them in. We've got Mike McClure back after a short hiatus. We got Propstarz, and we got the Sniper locked and loaded. Mike, I got to welcome you back, man. How's everything going? How was the short time? Wasn't a ton of time off. How was the short time off?
It was fantastic. Sia, I always look forward to getting away this time of the year, usually around MLB All-Star break, a little bit earlier this year, but love the golf we got going on. I love Wimbledon as well. Just waking up, betting tennis early. It's a lot of fun. So great time of the year, getting recharged, getting ready for the football season.
Propstars, did you know that we are LeVar Arrington days away from football season? What is that number, my friend? Do you know? I'm putting you on the spot here.
57.
So close. Ken Harvey, 57. Another commander, by the way. 56. Sniper, did you know that? Did you know we were LeVar Arrington 56 days away?
No, I started to say 55. So
all right.
Although 55 would be Lance Briggs. Could I request that for tomorrow?
Sure, or Andre Collins. I'm going super obscure with mine. I might go Neil Olkowitz with 52, which I guarantee only like maybe one person who's listening to this show knows who that is. Yeah, we're close to football season. We're going to have a lot of football content coming out. Go ahead, Mike.
I got to give Sniper some credit because LeVar Arrington actually did wear the number 55 briefly with the Giants. He was 56 with Washington, but he has worn 56 and 55.
Well, there you have it, Sniper. Nice pull, Mike McClure. See, I forget about the Giants days because once he left Washington, I was very, very, very sad. Such an exciting player to watch. For the record, I think he's got a son that's going to Penn State. LeVar Arrington Jr. Is that right, Alex?
Oh, that is right. And I was going to say one of Penn State's finest linebacker alum. That was when Penn State was producing NFL linebackers at an incredible clip. So I also very much enjoyed LeVar Arrington, despite being a division rival of my Eagles, as you know, Sia. And I'll never forget the Warren Sapp LeVar Arrington showdown. Do you recall that pregame, Sia, where Warren Sapp had a history of going and celebrating on the road on the opposing team's logo pregame, and LeVar Arrington took offense to that and told Sapp it was not going to happen, and it was a great moment in football history, in my opinion.
Absolutely love that. Yeah, I do remember that. And not on LeVar Arrington or Sean Taylor's watch. If you're a Washington fan, you weren't going to get away with much while they were playing. All right, well, let's get to the picks. I mean, we could we could do a whole show just reminiscing about football. You know, it'd be a fun show. Real quick, Matt, before we get to your official picks, because you got 2 of them for us. If we had the chat just literally throw out a number, like 1 through, like, let's say 59, for example. And then we just took that number, we related it to 1 or 2 or 3 players. Obviously, Lawrence Taylor's also 56. There's a ton of 56s. And we just started telling stories. And we just went through like 5 numbers per show where the audience throws out a number, and again, 1 through 59, and we just started talking football based on that number. Honestly, it sounds ridiculous, but I could do that show for an hour in 5 numbers, like very, very easily. And I think the people at home would enjoy that show as well. But Sniper, what they'd enjoy more is, I know you might have had something to say off of my terrible or maybe incredible idea, but they probably enjoy some winners more because yesterday wasn't the best day. I'm not singling you out, for the entire team. Let's talk maybe a couple of picks that will be green check marks.
Yeah, if I could piggyback on that idea, I think we would need to play the old NFL primetime music while we're doing it. That would make it the best possible segment. But you know what? Speaking of winners, I've got a winner from yesterday that I'm going to play back today. I'm going to run it back. I'm going to go with the Mets again over 4.5 runs. That's one of the few things that we hit yesterday. I'm going to stay with that. The Mets just keep hitting their overs. They've averaged, again, over 6 runs per game over the last 26 games. One of the best teams in baseball against left-handed pitching, and they've got a lefty again today in Mackenzie Gore. I've actually played this last week. They faced Mackenzie Gore last week, and I played the Mets over. and they did hit it, but it didn't happen until late in the game. They did not hit Mackenzie Gore at all. They just got to the Nationals bullpen, but that's kind of an illustration of how good they've been at hitting their overs no matter what. And I like the fact that they just saw him last week. The familiarity, they just saw him. They know what his stuff looks like. That bodes well for them to get over this 4.5 again today. So I'm running it back with a Mets over 4.5. Also, going to go with Mr. Skeens, Paul Skeens. I think he should start the All-Star game. I think that would be a very fun story. I'm going to go under 1.5 earned runs. 6 of his 10 starts, he's been either 0 or 1 earned run. He has a 2.12 ERA, and that was with his first start where he had the first start jitters and he wasn't nearly as good. He's had a 1.79 ERA since that first start. The Brewers have not seen him. He has ridiculous stuff. Having not seen that stuff before, that's the opposite of the familiarity there, as I talked about with the Mets, having just seen Mackenzie Gore. The Brewers have not seen Paul Skeens at all. That means they don't know what it looks like inside the box. That's really, really tough. Another thing that I'm looking at, he's been over 100 pitches in back-to-back starts. I think the Pirates might want to watch his workload a little bit, so maybe he won't go as deep into the game. That makes it even easier for us to stay under this 1.5 earned runs.
Oh, that is very interesting. A very interesting take. And looking at how many pitches he's thrown over the last couple of games, not something I would have looked at, which is why you have that pick and I don't. All right. Let's talk about, by the way, we're going to talk a little bit more about Paul Skeens. That was the first, by the way, for the record. On the network show today at 2:00. I'll tell you more about that network show in a second. But before we get there, BetMGM, you got to go there. We got some MLB promos at BetMGM. They've got you covered when betting MLB today. BetMGM customers can receive a 50%, I'm going to say that again, 50% profit boost token on any same game parlay today for any MLB game. Log into the BetMGM app for more offer details. We got to get to Proppy's pick. We got to get to my pick. We got to get to Mike's pick. Got to talk a little bit about the network show, and we're going to hear about all of that and your picks in the chat after this message from our partners. Interesting question coming off the break here from Joseph Rackett, because I mentioned the network show today. And just so everybody knows, we've got another full hour of the early edge today at 2:00 on CBS Sports Network. Going to be joined by all the heavy hitters as we usually are. Mike McClure is going to be back with us on that show. We're not only going to be talking about MLB best bets and some WNBA stuff and model picks from Mackenzie Brooks. We're also going to be talking college football futures with Chip Patterson and NFL futures with Mike McClure and plenty of others, including PropStarz. But there is a question. I'm going to bounce this off you, Sniper, because this is going to come up, spoiler alert, on the network show, because I lean this way. I didn't make it an official pick quite yet, but Joseph Brackett says, Sniper, do you like the Pirates' first 5? And before you look at the number, maybe you already know it. It's really in that minus 140 range almost everywhere. Paul Skeens, of course, on the mound, first 5 here. I like this play. And again, I didn't make it official because it was minus 140. I'm going to look at some other stuff first, but any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I avoided it because I don't trust the Pirates offense much. And if anything, I might look at the under there because I don't think there's going to be a lot of scoring for the first 5 innings. Also, somebody said, what about the 7.5? That was Skeens' strikeout line. I initially looked at that, but there was a ton of juice on it, if memory serves. And again, I don't know if they're going to let him go really deep into the game today. So I avoided that as well.
And real quick, David Talk, can you verify what you're talking about there? You say you gave us Roy first round. I gave that lean against Tommy Fleetwood. Did he actually beat him out? They were tied with a couple holes left. So give me the update on that. I'd love for that lean to have cashed because I know at least a few people took that. All right, PropStarz, let's move on to a little bit more baseball as I analyze the chat a little bit more. There's so much in there from everybody. Moshi, Sox Nation, Big Cheesy, Brandon Silva, Brian Smith. So many picks in here. Bradley Jacobs is in here. You've got to play on a Red Sox player. I was trying to figure out a way, PropStarz, to bet this game. And I couldn't figure it out because I was even thinking, hey, maybe I'll throw it into a money line parlay. There was just a couple things I didn't like. The pitcher on the other side, has looked kind of decent. It seems to me, looking at this now, that you've attacked this in the way that I was searching for. Talk to us about this Red Sox A's game.
Yes, we're going to go with Boston starter Tanner Houck to go over 17.5 pitching outs. That is at least 6 innings pitched. Tanner Houck has enjoyed a breakout campaign at age 28, making his first All-Star appearance. He's been really good since the beginning of the season, certainly settling in as a top-end starter in Boston's rotation. He's also eclipsed this in 13 of his 18 starts on the season. So he is frequently going deep into games and gets an excellent matchup against the Oakland A's. We all know this offense pretty subpar here. They're ranked 25th in OPS against opposing right-handed pitching. So this is a good matchup. I think we're getting a bit of a discount here because Houck had his previous 2 outings, he struggled. One of those coming against the Clergymen, the Padres, who have an excellent offense, and the other against the Yankees, who we all know have a very good offense as well. That game also featured a rain delay, so he only pitched 68 pitches. So I anticipate him, having a little bit, potentially a longer leash in this game today against the Athletics. But I love him going over 17.5 outs. Typically, this will be in the range of -160 to -200. But as a result, again, of him not going deep in the previous 2 games, we're getting a pretty hefty discount here. I think it's a really good way to back the Red Sox against the A's as well.
All right. I like this play. I think this is definitely the way to play this one. For the record, the matchup, the lean, what was in fact a tie. So they ended up finishing tied. And then listen, that's part of the reason I didn't bet it. I didn't love Tommy Fleetwood this week as much as everybody else, but I got to hand it to him. He was a great course fit. He's got great history here. They ended up both tied at -5. Good rebound from Rory. I think a lot of people were looking at him saying, how's he going to respond, particularly in round 1? He had a great round. He's going to put himself in position perhaps again on Sunday to try and close. Hopefully it'll go a little different than what happened in the U.S. Open, at least hopefully for him. All right, Mike McClure, you're into the golf, but you've got a baseball pick. Before we get to your pick, I want to give a golf pick for the ISCO. The ISCO is kind of a weird name. Some of these sponsors really changed. This used to be the Barbasol Championship. It's an alternate event off of the Genesis Scottish Open. So this one started at a regular time. It didn't start at 2 a.m. This one started at 6:45 in the morning, and we still have players that have not teed off. One of those players is Ben Silverman. I'm going with a head-to-head matchup. You should be able to find this head-to-head matchup at most books. If not, you might have 3 balls available for the ISCO, in which case you can ask me about whether or not there's a certain 3 ball that I like or may not like. You can tweet at me or you can put it in the chat. But I like Ben Silverman over Chesson Hadley. Chesson Hadley and Ben Silverman, similar course fits here. None of them are particularly bombish off the tee, but they can absolutely dial in with the ball striking and with the putter. Both of them have been reasonably hot, but Ben Silverman's been the better player over the last, I would say, month or two. Ben Silverman, really an up-and-coming Canadian that's played very well and snuck upon some leaderboards and some really good events over the last couple of months. Honestly, when you look at the odds board and you look at the futures market, Ben Silverman getting way more respect than Chesson Hadley, and it makes a lot of sense because Ben Silverman's kind of emerging. Chesson Hadley, one of those guys that gets hot here and there, but generally speaking, kind of a flat player. If you're looking at the odds market from a futures standpoint, Ben Silverman's in that 30-1 range, Chesson Hadley in that 45 to 50 to 1 range, and yet I'm getting -120 over Chesson Hadley. I just like this matchup. I think this should probably be -135 or -140. And for whatever reason, it's not. I'll go ahead and take it. Give me Ben Silverman -120 over Chesson Hadley. This one tees off in about 2 hours. So you got plenty of time to get this one out there. All right, we move on from golf and updates in golf. Thank you for being in the chat, being active in the chat. I've got some first-round leaders for the ISCO that I tweeted out late last night. I don't even know how they're doing at the moment. But, Mike, I'm doing really well because you're back on the show. You'll be on the 2 o'clock show as well. You've got a pick. There was somebody, I think it was Brandon Silva, who said, hey, Jordan Hicks, revenge game because he had a cup of coffee with the Toronto Blue Jays. Snipers smirking because he probably remembers that. Mike, you probably remember it. Are we going with the revenge narrative? Obviously not, but are we going with the Giants?
I am going back in the Giants here, Sia. I played this last night. I got to give a shout out to the SportsLine dev team as well. I was able to put this play in on the airplane last night, which was fantastic. But when I look at this matchup here, I got this minus 110 last night. I had him winning 56.5% of the time. That implies we should see the price point minus 130. That is definitely where the market is headed right now. It looks like we're minus 122 to minus 125 across the board. I would play it still, again, right up to that number of minus 130. But my real concern here is just some of the general fatigue for Toronto. This is game 6 of a 9-game road trip that leads into the All-Star break, a long time away from home. This team, they're a fine baseball team, but it's a tough division that they have to compete in the AL East. They're already in last place there, likely turning into sellers at the deadline. And then they lost 2 players last night, potentially not going to be back here today in Varsho and Bichette. So this will be a very interesting lineup that they run out there. Day game after a night game. Again, game 6 of 9, long road trip. But when you look at Gausman here, having the worst season of his career in terms of some of the metrics, he's throwing his fastball at a career high 53% of the time, which tells me he doesn't really trust some of his secondary pitches. And that fastball has not been great. 415, expected weighted on base average. 93 miles per hour is the average exit velocity. Essentially a hard hit baseball is the average ball put in play off that pitch. So for me, great spot to back the Giants at home. Again, turn on those notifications on SportsLine. Could have had this minus 110 for about 3.5, 4 hours last night.
All right. Absolutely love that. Again, turning the SportsLine notifications on, super, super important. If you want Sniper's pick right when he makes it, Mike McClure's pick right when he makes it, maybe you want my pick right when I make it. I don't know. I've been a little cold in the baseball streets. Go to sportsline.com/join. Type in the promo code winners. You get 60% off the annual plan. Again, 60% off the annual plan. All you got to do is type in the promo code winners, or you can scan that QR code right now as opposed to going to sportsline.com/join. Either way, you'll get there, and it's super easy, super inexpensive. So much information to be taken from SportsLine, including so many team previews in the NFL that are already up there. You're not going to want to miss that as you prepare for not just fantasy season, but NFL betting season as well. Judah Baker says Rockies at Reds, no runs first inning. Interesting there. LJ from H-Town says Oakland, this is interesting, is 0-15 as a dog in the 3rd game of a series. Horrible trend, he says. I'd say that is a horrible trend. Brian Smith says over 8 Braves D-backs. I've got a question real quick, Mike, for Wimbledon before we get to the recap screen. But Sniper, did you see anything in the chat baseball-wise that you felt like you needed to respond to?
I thought
okay.
We talked about the Skeens stuff earlier, so I think we hit it. Reds no run first inning. Yeah. No, I think we're good.
Fair enough. Sox Nation says Chicago Sky plus 9.5. Also, Liberty over 22.5 minus 112. Interesting. I'm not sure how to interpret that second one. All right. Kylie Reynolds says Reds, no run first inning today is what he's on. I think that one he recommended yesterday, and that hit as well. Mike, Wimbledon, can you just give us an update? I don't know if we can expect any picks from you necessarily, but any outrights that you have that are still have survived? Like, where are we at in Wimbledon, just to kind of reset that for everybody?
Yeah, over the weekend, I stopped in CBS Sports HQ in Florida. I gave Novak Djokovic plus 420 to win it. Didn't look like the path was going to be great. However, he's got the most friendly road you could possibly have. If he's going to get another Grand Slam, it's going to be this one, in my opinion. Had the fortune of having an opponent in the quarterfinals withdraw from the tournament with injury. Didn't even have to play that match. Had another walkover in the first set. So he's incredibly well rested. It's likely to be him and Alcaraz once again. So it should be a phenomenal final. But with Musetti upsetting Fritz, I think it's Djokovic walking into the final. I do think Medvedev could push Alcaraz. Obviously, Medvedev took down Jannik Sinner. I think that Alcaraz will likely be able to solve Medvedev, but Medvedev is long enough and good enough on the fast court like this that he could wear out Alcaraz enough to where we could be in a situation where it's a very, very tight match with Novak Djokovic, but Alcaraz should still be the clear favorite.
All right, fair enough. There's a question, Sia, what do you think about Bridgman over Smalley? That's one I'd probably stay away from, but I do lean Bridgman in that one. And then there was a question about Silverman over Carson Young, minus 110. I wouldn't touch that one. I think somebody in the chat noted that I have Carson Young as a first-round leader. I also have him, I don't know if it was a first-round leader. I actually don't think it was first-round leader, but I had him as an outright. So I'm not picking on Carson Young at all. He was one of 3 outrights I had with Michael Thorbjornsen and Mac Meisner. So not picking on Carson Young at all. 3-ball with Silverman plus 120 over Shipley and Andrew Johnston. Okay, that one I saw. Scott, I lean that way at the plus 120 number. Shipley is the concern there because he can get hot. He wasn't hot last week, but he can get hot. He's probably the better talent over Ben Silverman, but at plus 120, I don't mind that one. Again, that's a 3-ball Ben Silverman over Shipley and Neil Shipley from James Madison. Everybody keeps saying Ohio State, but he also went to James Madison and Andrew Johnston. All right. I think we got to as many questions as we could. I appreciate everybody putting those questions in there. Let's take a look at the recap screen before we get out of here. I've got Ben Silverman minus 120 over Chesson Hadley later today. That's a round one matchup. And Tanner Houck from PropStars over 17.5 outs at minus 125. The Sniper, Mets team total over 4.5 at minus 110. And Paul Skeens under 1.5 earned runs at plus 115. Mike McClure, Giants money line at minus 110. There was one other matchup from Eric David. It was Carson Young, that is, plus 125 in the 3-ball over Kazire and Elvira. Shout out to the Elvira references from the 80s. Yeah, I like that one. Eric, Kazire can go off at any moment. This is, of course, a birdie fest where he could go off, but I do like Carson Young plus 125 in that 3-ball. In fact, I like that 3-ball a little bit better than that other 3-ball that we literally just talked about. I wouldn't say that would be an official play for me, but it's a very strong lean. Good find by you. All right, Ed Anarumo, he says, let's have a good one. Brandon Silva says, best of luck today. Let's cash these tickets. Yeah, we got to have a bounce back from yesterday. Week started out strong, but yesterday we slipped up. Let's try to rebound with all of the picks we had for you today. Do not forget the network show at 2 o'clock. Again, we're going to be talking MLB, some of those WNBA bets you talked about, some futures, not just in NFL and college football, but guess what? By the time we get on at 2 o'clock today, the round one will be open for, or should be done for the Scottish Open. So just keep that in mind because me and Mike McClure might be talking about some live outrights or some bets we want to make going into round two. So we got a lot to talk about on the 2 o'clock show. We talked about a lot today. Thanks in part to all of you at home who have hit the like button, asked your questions, and made your comments. Let's run it back tomorrow at 10 a.m., same time, same place. On behalf of PropStars, Mike McClure, Matt Sniper, and of course, yeah, it's Matt Sniper. He changed his last name officially. And of course, Jake the Snake on the 1s and 2s and 3s and 4s. Have a great day, everybody. We'll see you very soon. 2 o'clock show. We'll see you here tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I'm the counselor. This is the Early Edge. We rest our case.